Okay, let's start with a simple story. It's about a promised sea view, a brand new building, and that sinking feeling of being betrayed. But what starts as a real estate drama unfolds into this really powerful lesson on law, life, and how we choose to see the world. And it all kicks off with just one sentence.
So, this is Vijaya, and that feeling she has, that sense of being completely cheated, that's really the emotional heart of our story. She's just found something in a real estate brochure that feels like a total betrayal, like a promise that's been completely broken. But as we're about to find out, the truth, well, it's a lot more complicated than that.
So here's the big question, right? Was it actually cheating? To figure that out, we have to rewind a little and look at what was promised in the first place.
All right, let's set the scene. Picture Vijaya. She's holding this glossy, expensive-looking brochure, the very one that sold her family on their new home, and more importantly, the incredible view that came with it. But that promise, it's about to be put to the test.
Wow, look at the contrast here. On the one hand, you have the promise from the marketing materials, unrestricted sea view, assured for life. I mean, that sounds pretty ironclad, doesn't it? But then, bam, the reality hits. A new building is going up just 50 meters away. And here's the real kicker. It's being built by the very same company. So you'd think, okay, this is an open and shut case of deception, right? Well, not so fast. It all changes when Vijaya keeps on reading.
And yep, there it is, buried deep in the fine print. It's the classic escape clause, isn't it? The statements were true at the time the document was made, but they are subject to change. That one little phrase completely flips the script. This isn't just about what feels fair anymore, now it's about what's legally allowed.
This is the moment Vijaya's mother, Sudha, steps into the conversation. And she doesn't just offer sympathy. She introduces a legal concept that's been around for hundreds of years, but is somehow perfectly relevant to this exact moment.
And there it is. Sudha just lays it out so clearly. She doesn't get caught up in the fairness argument, she goes straight to the law. Caveat emptor. It's a phrase that fundamentally changes how you have to look at this whole conflict.
So what in the world is caveat emptor? Well, it's a Latin phrase and it literally means let the buyer beware. In plain English, it means the responsibility is on you, the buyer, to do your homework. The seller doesn't necessarily have to point out every single potential problem down the road. Now, to be fair, lots of modern laws have pushed back against this to protect consumers, but this core principle, it still underpins a lot of transactions. In this case, it means the onus was on the buyer to check for any future construction plans.
Okay, so now that we understand the law, the conversation shifts again. It's no longer just about what's legal, but about what feels right, and it turns into this fascinating debate between two completely different ways of seeing the world.
So on one side, you've got Vijaya's reaction. It's emotional and it's totally relatable, right? This is not fair. It just speaks to our basic sense of justice. But on the other side, you've got her mom, Sudha, with this incredibly pragmatic view. Life is dynamic. She's basically saying that change is the only thing you can count on, and nothing, not even a view, can be guaranteed forever. And this is when her mother asks a truly brilliant question.
And honestly, this is the pivot point of the whole story. Sudha cuts right through the legal arguments and the brochure to get to the absolute heart of the matter. Is Vijaya's pain really about the company's terms and conditions, or is it about something much, much deeper and more personal?
And here's the answer. That view wasn't just scenery. For Vijaya, it was an emotional anchor. It was the one beautiful thing that made a really difficult move to a much smaller home feel worth it. So losing the view meant losing this source of comfort and happiness, which is a far deeper loss than just some contractual disagreement.
So how do they move forward from this? Well, by finally recognizing what the real problem is, they can stop fighting a battle they can't win and start looking for solutions, some practical and some even inspiring.
Instead of staying stuck in frustration, they create a kind of three-step plan. First, they acknowledge the real emotional loss. That's so important. Second, Sudha proposes a simple, practical solution. Let's just swap rooms. That way, Vijaya can get a sea view back, even if it's from a smaller room. And third, she plants a seed for the future, turning this frustration into a motivation to change the system itself.
And to fuel that new motivation, Sudha shares this fascinating fact. In France, there's actually a law against the obstruction of light. No building can just come along and block access to natural sunlight for other buildings. It's such a powerful example that shows laws aren't static. They can be shaped to reflect what a society really values. And it's an idea that could transform Vijaya's anger into real ambition.
And this is where their personal story comes to a close. As they agree to swap rooms, Vijaya's response is lighthearted, it's teasing. You can just hear the shift in her perspective. She's processed the disappointment, she's found a way forward, and she's reconnected with her mother. She has shifted her horizon.
So, we'll leave you with this final thought. This story isn't just about real estate, you know? It's really a metaphor for how we handle disappointment when reality doesn't live up to our expectations. So, when your view gets blocked, literally or figuratively, do you spend all your energy fighting the obstruction, or do you focus on finding a new window?